I know that we're in June, and for some reason that seems to you're getting closer to the All-Star game than the trade deadline, and I've noticed on the interwebs just a lot. I'm talking about typically with Cardinals blogs and all that stuff. Just a lot of people frothing up with writing blogs, and I'm being facetious a little, but writing blogs that say like, well, here are the top 18 trade targets for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's just like, easy.
All 18?
Yeah.
I know.
And people are doing one of my least favorite things, and yes, I am a grouch. I've always been consistent with this. I don't want to hear your trade proposals. It's not. I know it's nothing personal. But I'm not Walt Jocketty, right? I'm not Dale Maxwell even, right? We don't make trades. We don't know what goes into trades. We don't know what other teams want. We don't know what the Cardinals are willing to offer. So why should I read your list of 20 trade proposals? I mean, I like fantasy baseball in terms of the fantasy baseball where you compete, but this fantasy GM stuff, I got no use for it. If it makes you happy, go for it. But just don't ask me to comment on your fantasy trades, your fantasy GM trades that I would say 99% of them have absolutely no chance of actually becoming a trade. Anyway, you're saying like, well, why are you bringing up Dane Perry? I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't think Dane would, because his Birdie Work blog is subscriptions, very very cheap though, and you should do it because he's got great stuff on here. And he said there's one trade target that keeps popping up, and Dane Perry offered his official, be careful, be very very careful, and he's talking about Shane Bieber. And I think Cardinals fans really have it for Bieber. I mean, his name, don't you think, Jim, that comes up more than any I've heard?
Yep, that's exactly right.
They love Shane Bieber. And before I tell you what Dane said about this, yes, I know that he pitched very, very well against the Cardinals when they were in Cleveland. No one's saying that he can't pitch. But we can also agree the Cardinals at that time, they were going into their deep freeze. Well, they had already started it in the Cincinnati series, where the Cardinals' offense really just kind of ran out of steam or something. But anyway, Dane says correctly, of course, that he's hoping that Liberatore really solidifies the rotation. He's in favor, as we talked about him with yesterday, of Matz being in the bullpen, because Matz has a chance to be good in the bullpen. But they need another upgrade. And Dane Perry wrote, quote, "I'm really worried about Adam Wainwright's capacity to get major league hitters out at this very late stage of his career, and it's likely that at some point injury will strike someone presently among the starting five." So he's saying they need to upgrade. They need to add. They need to add. And he said, since ownership in the front office bizarrely chose not to address the rotation this past offseason, and so since no one from the system outside of Liberatore looks ready to help in the immediate near term, that leaves the deadline as the only path to improvement. So he says, now this brings us back to Bieber, who's going to be one of the most coveted arms leading up to trading season. Given his track record and the fact he's not eligible for free agency until after the 2024 season, Bieber's going to command a hefty return should the Guardians decide to move him, which is certainly should not be assumed that they are, given the winnable state of the AL Central. He's right. But Dane Perry then goes on to talk about trends that really concern him. In 2020, his average fastball velocity was 94 miles an hour. It's now 91 miles an hour in 2023. So he's really losing heat off his fastball. His strikeout, by the way, and these things have all gone down. In other words, 2020 was this, then it went down in 21, then it went down in 2022. Now it's gone down again. And his strikeout rate, this one is like, whoa. It was like 41% back in 2020. Then it fell to 33%, and then it fell to 25%, and then this year it's 17%. As Dane wrote, Bieber is hemorrhaging fastball, velo, and strikeouts, and he's doing it even though he's only 28 years old. Now, he does keep runs off the board, and that's the thing. I'm not saying that Bieber's not a good pitcher. He's really a good pitcher. But what do the Cardinals have in terms of, don't they have already have enough guys that strike out, 18 to 21% and put the ball in play all the time, and putting balls in play against a defense that has absolutely collapsed? Bieber's probably a better version of what they have, other than maybe Miklasz in his current form. But you're not going to get the strikeout power, which they're really lacking in. You're not going to get the swing and miss stuff. You're going to get a lot of balls hit in the air, a lot of balls hit on the ground. And to get him, if you could trade, Tres Barrera for him, sure, I'll do that. But the Guardians they have a really smart front office, first of all. And they do like to trade with the Cardinals. I mean, they have a history making trades that's actually pretty fun. But Shane Bieber, because he is under control for another season after this one, that's going to be a difficult purchase or difficult buy in terms of the trade return. That's going to be a tough get. They're going to demand a lot. And I just even though he's really good, there's some warning signs with him, and you just have to factor that in. And you also have to factor in the reality and tell the truth about yourself that you have a lousy defense, and that does not help a pitcher that's got a 17% strikeout rate.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff. It'd be great to have him in this rotation because he'd be better than what you have. But the reality is, I think when you think of a guy like that, you're thinking, you're going to get, ace stuff. And those numbers don't scream ace stuff right now. It's not he's not who he once was, should I say. You didn't ask for, a text line says, Bernie, I know you didn't ask for trades, but how about Barreras and muscles? Would that get Bieber?
Yeah, they'll go for that. And there was a piece, Dave Solomon, sent me a piece to look at it, and it's about the strikeout rate going down, but it's also about how Bieber has, quote, reinvented himself. And I'm sure listen, again, he's getting hitters out really well. Maybe I'm too hung up on the strikeout stuff, but I know we talk about that a lot, and we know that the ball's in play an awful lot. If you're a Cardinals pitcher and your defense is kind of under more pressure and your defense has really, really deteriorated. That's all I'm trying to say. But it isn't even that. It's just also what you would have to give up to get him.
Yeah,
he's thrown a cutter that has worked great for him. This was in The Athletic. Gets a really big whiff rate, but as the author of the piece pointed out, the cutter is also the pitch that opponents have hit the best and the hardest. 536 slugging percentage by opponents this year. So, again, I ain't saying no way, no how, but I'm assuming that the Guardians are going to ask for a ton. And Bieber is not using his fastball as much anymore. That tells you all you need to know. I mean, so anyway.
No, Jim Bowden has a thing where he went through all the teams, and he made mention of the Cleveland Cardinals deals in the past. And then he also said to the point, well, the Cardinals have a lot of outfielders they could trade. Cleveland's looking for an outfielder. I went, well, I'm not saying all the outfielders are good that they would trade, but okay.
They're not going to trade Nootbaar, nor should they.
Right.
I would think they'd be open. When Carlson gets back, we'll see if he can start to put something together. But I would hope that they would at least listen to offers. And I'm being conservative for Carlson.
Yeah. Walker's
off limits. And I I think that they would at least consider trading Burleson. But, he's a guy that, despite the people will be pushed back and in denial and telling me I'm crazy, statistically he has gotten better over the last 10, 11 games. And even though he looks very, very goofy and awkward in left field, he really isn't that bad. If you go by defensive run saved, fielding Bible, and you go by outs above average that you find on StatCast. This guy's not a butcher in left field. He looks clumsy. That's all it is. And it's the same with I would have these idiots telling me all the time, "Oh, and Matt Holliday, he's a brutal left field." No, he wasn't actually. And I think they're remembering that line drive he dropped in the Dodgers series. It cost him a game back in 2009.
Oh yeah, yep.
But Matt Holliday, like year after year after year, he either be number 1 or 2 or 3, top 5 in defensive run saves among left fielders. It's one of those disconnects I've never quite understood. You got a lot of people that judge defensive skill based on how a guy looks, not on how many times does he have a chance to make a play, and how many times does he make the play. I don't care what it looks like. You get the outs that you should get. That's fine. That's fine. I don't know why, and the one thing disconnect with me and some St. Louis fans over the years is that, frankly, they don't understand that left field is where you sort of hide guys that aren't your most acrobatic or what's the word? Acrobatic or theatrical or fast-moving outfielders. Matt Holliday was in tremendous shape. I mean, he and he was really smart. And he did not look awesome playing left field, but he was really good at it. And so I don't understand how people are like, oh, let me see if I can say. Now we want what? We want left fielders to look like. These guys that have been heralded through the ages for their spectacular defense. No, left fielder is the post of guys like Greg Luzinski. And if some of you don't know who he is, look him up and look for a photo. Especially.
Oh, the bull, yeah.
I mean, this is where if a guy's doesn't have great mobility or range, but he can hit. That's where those are the guys that teams put in left field, if they're outfielders. But for some reason, a segment of St. Louis fans, ever since I've been here, they want to judge defense as if judges assess and give grades or scores for figure skating in the Olympics. Right?
Yeah, you're right. That's a good way of looking at it.
Are we a baseball town still, or is it now we got to get style points, right? Was that what it is?
And left field's is always traditionally that position. You go, well,
right.
Our least qualified outfielder plays in left. That's
right.
just why that goes. Trade him, Oscar Mercado back.
Trade him back. Yeah, that's right.
You like that one?
Nah, the Bieber. So, but listen, I'll tell everybody right now. The Bieber stuff will just absolutely, it'll go into a frenzy for no reason. But it'll go into frenzy because you fans got to have something to go crazy about. Oh, I heard the Bieber's coming. They're going to get Bieber. No, I mean, nothing's impossible, but I'd say highly unlikely unless what Cleveland wants is reasonable. But I promise, or I'm taking a vow not to be as grouchy about it as I'd like to be. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and the thing about it, like you said, he's one of the bigger names on the market, and usually that doesn't end up in St. Louis. Let's face it. That ends up. The Mets are going to come knocking on the door at some point. They'll figure something out to try and. There's going to be. I'm curious to see what those Texas Rangers are going to do, because they're for real, and whenever they decide what they need or what they want, I think they're going to be very aggressive because. They were aggressive in getting the whole group assembled down there, and it's paying off. And, man, they are good. We're going to find out next week. But, man, that's a good baseball team. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And they've done they've done wonders with that pitching staff. And keep in mind, DeGrom has hardly pitched, so when he pitched, couple starts or 2 starts, maybe 3. Yeah, he was great, but that's not really the point. He's out, and as usual, no one knows when he'll come home. But they're really getting terrific results. I don't know. It might have something to do with the pitching coach.
You think?
Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
Yeah, pitching coach who's not given readouts from the analytics department with a stamp that says approved by John Mozeliak, and tells him how he should coach up the players. He's got Bruce Bochy as his manager. It's a real baseball man with great career. He's won 3 World Series as the manager of the Giants. Maddox doesn't have to worry about printouts or downloaded files. Hey, did you see that? Did you see that file I sent you? Yeah, it's got everything about how, all of our metrics. It tells you this is how you got to pitch a guy. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And it seems pretty interesting to me the way that their pitching staff has improved, not just through additions, but some of the guys that have been there.
I want to say it was the night before last, and I don't have the exact number, but there was somebody had put out the stat who covered the Rangers said, since DeGrom went down, the starting staff has an ERA in the 3s somewhere. And I'm like, gee whiz,
right.
That's great.
He made an adjustment with Nathan Eovaldi, who I'm going off the top of my head, so if I'm inaccurate by a season or so, it's no big deal. But, a couple, 3 years ago, he had a really good season. I mean, the Red Sox gave him, a good contract, and he hadn't pitched all that hot. He was still competitive, but his performance really kind of declined. And the Rangers took a flyer on him because Maddox said that he thinks he can help him, and that's exactly what's happened. Meanwhile, the Cardinals have Dusty Blake, who just in the dugout always seems to just look confused or something. I don't know. And I know he's a smart dude.
You like this. Remember, they will ask for the 10 best prospects, but will get traded for someone else and average players from other teams.
That's exactly right. That's been one of my things for years. The Cardinals, what will happen? I don't know what the Dodgers are looking for. They probably do need another starting pitcher. But the Dodgers will get a starting pitcher, a good one, and they will not give up much because somehow they manage to pull that off time and time again. And what we will hear from Mozeliak, we will hear, we just weren't going to give them Jordan Walker or Tink Hence. We're just not going to do that.
Yep.
We're just not giving them Newt Barr and Tink Hence and Jordan Walker. I'm sorry, that's just excessive. But yet the Dodgers pull it off without giving up anybody that they're fearful of losing. Yeah, that is such a good thing. I'm glad you brought that up because this has been going on for years. And the Cardinals have been able, up until recent deadlines, local media finally caught on, finally caught on after being basically tricked and fallen for the spin for years and years and years and years. Well, they couldn't get him because they asked for 4 of the Cardinals' top 5 prospects. Then finally, everybody kind of collectively woke up and said, "Wait a minute, why is it Why is every time they want to make a trade, they say that the other team that had the trade that they wanted, the piece that they wanted, they're asked to give up this outrageous amount of talent, and yet then you see the Dodgers, you see the Rays, you see some other teams, they make trades and." The amount of sting that they feel for making that trade is pretty minimal, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
At least now the locals have caught on to this, which makes me happy because I felt, again, I play the role, and I'm not playing the role. I just give opinions, and they're honest opinions, but, it's like I'm always the bad guy, So I like it when other people are willing to just basically kind of cut through the BS and speak the truth. That's all I'm saying.
Another texter says, don't forget, A.J. Preller will be dealing soon, too.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
He's always in on something, especially with their team.
Even if they don't need it.
Yes,
right?
You're right. How many times you go, well, what are they going to do with that other bat in the lineup? They find a way. Somebody gets pushed aside.